Well, let's start off with James Catt. Now, he's a famous guy, Tesla fan, metal, and we commonly refer to him specifically with regard to some of his expectations on numbers. But today we're going to be talking about his theory and thinking with regard to FSD. Because as he points out in his X post today, he says, my long-term followers will know that I have been bearish on Tesla's FSD ambitions for years. And then he shows us a post of what he said years ago. He says, the data, I have every bias in the world to believe Elon's bull on the FSD timeline. The data did not support it, despite Elon's assurances and despite the noisy FSD hyperboles busting some, parts of their body after every increasingly less terrible, but still terrible iteration. Well, how did I know that it would take this long? He implies. How could a cat who still doesn't use FSD daily or even drive a Tesla be right 4 years later? Answers equal, I don't have my head up my, that place, unlike some people in this app or on this app. Well, since that time, Tesla has improved a lot. It is now a functional, usable, and valuable driver assistance software. But the gap between driver assistance software and unsupervised FSD is huge, he says. Tesla needs to go from one intervention every 250 to 500 miles to one intervention every 17,000 miles, which he says is the number that the Waymo is using for their information. Anyway, the pace of progress is still too slow, and until proven otherwise, I would be wary of watching 15 to 20-minute intervention-free drives and believing the hype. Well, if you then read some of his followers, some of the people that comment below, there are many who are seemingly still having interventions, they claim, even on 12.5.3.1.7, whatever, 12.5.1.3. They're still having interventions every 3 miles. Well, I'm still on 12.3.6 and drove to church and back today, 25 miles each way. I didn't record it, with just one intervention. Well, on the way to church, actually, when it got to the church lot, it's a large campus. For some reason, it went past the entrance, then it went up, took a left, went around the block, came back, went across, and entered correctly the second time. Had no trouble navigating the parking lot, which is a complex series of turns and twists and whatever. But did not park itself because this is, 3.6. Anyway, but then on the way home, we had one intervention. That was a blinking red light where I was trying to make a left turn, and it just sat there, it jittered a little bit, couldn't decide what to do. And I only gave it about 20 seconds because there was somebody behind me. It might have eventually gone, don't know. But that's, 50 miles. I thought it handled everything just fine. And that is multiple layers before, because we're still on hardware 3. Anyway, I did a lot of scanning of other content, looking for people that were talking about 12.5.1.3, and they seem to be thinking things were doing really well. And also looking at the tracker, the innovation rates are getting lower and lower. I think we're closer than Cat thinks, and he might be right, though. We'll see what happens. All right, Elon Musk says a little while ago that Grok 2 beta is releasing soon. By the way, later tonight, this is Randy Kirk, by the way, later tonight, I think we're going to have a Larry Goldberg video that you're going to want to see. This is very special. He has taken the time to do kind of a shorter version of what Lex Fridman did with his very long interviews the other day, which you may not have taken the time to listen to. So he and I are going to work together to do a much shorter version. What happened in that interview is mind-boggling. So maybe you'd like to see this shorter version, which we'll have out, I believe, later tonight. You can look for it. Okay, then this is Randy Kirk. Like, subscribe, notify. That's a good reason to notify. I've also got a video probably coming up tomorrow afternoon, could be Tuesday afternoon, with Tesla Boomer Mama. You always know that's going to be great. And she's got some really interesting stuff that she's put together that I think you're going to like. Okay. And then join Patreon. Come on, folks. I need some more producers. Apollo chief economist Torsten Slok said in a note on Saturday that the Atlanta Fed's GDP tracker points to a third quarter growth of 2.9%. If we come in the third quarter with 2.9%, and I mean, we'd have to come in with that 2.9%, like with the third revision in January, December, I guess it would be. If we have a December third revision on the third quarter at 2.9, please send me a hat that I could eat on channel, because I'll be shocked and amazed. The National Federation of Independent Business will be releasing its Small Business Optimism Index for July on Tuesday morning. The expectation there is for a 91.7 reading. That is about the same. If it comes in at 91.7, that's roughly the same as the June figure, so flat. But the index has been below the historical average of 98 for 30 consecutive months. So the small business people are not happy, not optimistic, but we'll see. They certainly weren't last month. If you remember the program last month, we will go into it in great depth Tuesday morning. Now, that's the main report. I mean, there's so many reports this week, but that is my number one because nobody else talks about it. So I like to really dig into it because I think it's important, as it's 40% of the economy. But if all the other reports come in as predicted this week, I think the markets won't be nearly as skittish and roiled and going crazy as they were last week when there was almost no reports. But I doubt if that's what's going to happen. As usual, there will probably be some surprises, but let's look at what's coming up. On Monday, we have the monthly U.S. federal budget numbers. That was at negative $221 billion last month, expecting that to increase to negative $241 billion. I mean, do you realize that in 4 quarters, we're negative $1 trillion every 4 quarters? Well, some quarters are not as bad, or some months rather. So yes, we'd be every 4 months, we'd be at $1 trillion. So that would be 3 trillion per year, although it doesn't end up being the same every month. All right, let's see. On Tuesday, we get that NFIB Optimism Index, and then we get the PPI, the Producer Price Index. Last month, it was at 0.2% increase. They're expecting that to stay at 0.2%. Last month, the core PPI was at 0. They're expecting that to go back up to 0.2%. And then the year over year and the year over year core, no prediction there, but last month it was 2.6 and 3.1. Now the PPI is important, but the Fed doesn't put nearly as much interest or nearly as much attention to the PPI as they do to the CPI. So on Wednesday, the CPI will be out. And last month, the headline number was down 0.1%. And this month, the projection is it'll be up 0.2. That would not be terrible, but it would certainly not be helpful. The core, core CPI last month was 0.1%, which is a really good number. This month, they're thinking that'll pop back up to 0.2%. In both cases, I'm thinking, I know you think we're in recession. I believe that we're in recession. I'm thinking that we might get a surprise on the downside on these two. CPI year over year, last month 3.0, thinking that it'll be 3.0 again. That's the headline number. That'll be the number that will be headlined everywhere. And then the core CPI year over year, last month was 3.3. They're thinking that will drop to 3.2. And I'm going to be the optimist on all this. I'm going to say the CPI and the PPI may beat across the board on all of this. We'll see what happens. Then we've got the jobless claims, as always, on Thursday. That's at 233 last week, suggesting it'll just be about the same, 235 this week. Again, I think they just use a dartboard on this because it's a really small range. It's kind of like predicting the weather in California, about all you have to do most months and most days is predict the temperature, the high temperature for the day. But I don't know, for some reason, they always get this wrong, even though it's a very narrow range. I would not be, again, surprised to see initial jobless claims going up and up more than their 2,000 units that they're suggesting. And again, remember, I care more, you should care more, I think, about the continuing jobless as opposed to how many are for the 1 week. Then we get the Empire State Manufacturing Survey. That's also on Thursday. And it is, last month was negative 6.6. This month projected to be negative 5.0. What's going on with New York? Philadelphia last month surprised with a 13.9 increase just down the road from New York. And this month they're projecting that'll go up 6 or be a positive 6 as opposed to how terrible the Empire State's doing. All right. I have no idea. Then on Thursday morning, we also get the U.S. retail sales. Last month, they went neither up nor down. They were even. And this month, there's no projection. Retail sales minus autos, though, they do have a projection. Last month, that was up 0.4%. This month, down 0.3%. I'm sorry, up 0.3%. So slowing down on retail sales minus autos. Then we have the import, and by the way, autos sales are horrible. So I'm not sure how that might impact, whether we'll see that impact in this report or not. Import price index last month was at flat at 0.00. This month they're saying it'll be up 0.1%. I have no expectation. There is I know a lot of people, there's a lot of, because of all these things with the hoodies and all that kind of stuff going on, the container prices are high right now, like $9,000, $8,000, where they normally are about $1,700 for California. So that might be impacting import pricing. We'll see what happens though. Then we have the import price index minus fuel. Last month was up 0.2. This month they're saying it's going to be even. You notice how many reports we have this week? It's crazy. It's still on Thursday. Industrial production last month was up 0.6. They're saying it'll be flat this month. That's not good. Capacity utilization last month was 78.8. This month they're saying it'll be 78.6. Again, these would all indicate slowing down. But if those are all slowing down at some point, you should see it in the jobs numbers, which they're not showing in this particular report on that initial jobless claims. And then business inventories, which is a little hard to decide what that really means any given month. But last month it was up 0.5%. This month saying up 0.3. That could either be because businesses are hoping to sell more, so they're inventorying more. It could also be because they're not selling through and therefore they're increasing. All right, then Friday. Yes, there's more on Friday. I have so many reports. Consumer sentiment preliminary on Friday. This is a big one we're going to want to look at. Last month it was 66.4, not good. This month they're saying it'll go up a little to 66.6, not good. Housing starts last month 1.35 million. They're saying that would be saying the same. Maybe. Building permits, 1.45 million. They're saying it's going to drop to 1.44 million. That's more like what I feel like I'm hearing. And then the home builder confidence index last month at 42, not good, with no guess for this month. I'm not thinking, well, they might be getting slightly more confidence because of the hope that they're seeing mortgage rates going down. They've dropped to about 40, to about 4.5, 4.6, that range. Did I say 4? 6.5, right around that area, which could give the home builders more confidence. All right, we got earnings this week. Home Depot on Tuesday. That will tell us a little bit about the consumer, but a lot about that secondary market in the home business. Home Depot's numbers have not been great. We'll see what happens. Cisco Systems will give us some more information on the tech world on Wednesday. And then Walmart, big one to see how the consumer is doing on Thursday. That will be something to look forward to if you didn't already have enough going on during the week. Okay, let's see where the markets are right now. Let's start with the bonds. If we got bonds, do we have the bonds yet? I think we should have. Yes, we should have. Unchanged. Let me go back here. Let me look again. Wow, we're not showing even any change in the, let me push it down once. Okay, no change. Nothing to show in the bonds. I guess the 10-year might actually be unchanged at 3.94, whereas the other ones are not. I guess they don't come till 4:30 California time. The 2-year at 4.05, so that's still showing about a 9 basis point difference between the 10 and the 2. All right, let's see if we think we have reporting on oil. Oil is barely up, just a tad, $76.99 on Texas Intermediate, up 15 cents. Brent up 7 cents at 79.73, approaching the $80 mark again. We'll see whether it's able to pop through. Natural gas up 2.85, continuing to rebound. I mean, it was really slapped down. So not terribly surprising to see some people trying to take advantage of those low prices. We've got gold basically unchanged, $4.10 down at $2,469, staying below that 2,500 that it was recently above. Silver down also 0.37% at 27.46. Copper down, same roughly 0.36, under $4 at $3.98. We got the dollar up against the yen right now, 0.29%, down against the euro, but call it unchanged. It's so close. And then Bitcoin taking another slap over the weekend here, down 22.17 at 58,821. Remember, it got down to 55, 54, I think, a week or so ago. And then here are the equities. We've got the Dow down 53 or 0.13%. The S&P down 5 or 0.09%, and the NASDAQ, actually the least of all, down 14 or 0.09, now down 16 or 0.09%. All right, so the futures are down a bit overall, not a lot in all of that I just went through to give you much of an indication of how we're going into this new week. What I will say at the end is what I said at the beginning. It could be a crazy week. I can't remember a week when we had more stuff coming out that was, potentially going to roil the markets. And how does Tesla fit into all of that? Well, this morning, if you didn't watch it, I did a beautiful, incredible video on the catalysts that might be impacting Tesla in the near term. If you missed it, you still have a chance. Here it is. There's the card. Go check it out. And then later, probably that Larry video. If not, I guess I could end up being tomorrow sometime. But lots of amazing. We got Larry tonight, Larry tomorrow night. You got Brian White probably tomorrow, but maybe it'll be Tesla Boomer Mama. And if it's not, anyway, all those are coming. It's going to be a heck of a week for this channel as well as for the markets. So stay tuned and then help out the channel down below. Patreon. Yeah. Okay. Great talking.